Faith here with your podcast Welcome Toast. If you fatten up everyone else around you, then you look thinner. Listen to our show in small bites or enjoy the whole thing.
I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops.
It's great to have you joining the party on the Faith Middleton Food Schmooze, inviting you to eat, drink, and be merry with us. What a show we have for you. I'm giving the Faith Middleton Food Schmooze Brilliant Award to some people in New York City, and you'll find out why. We have a tip for the perfect sear on a steak. It makes a real difference. And then later in the show, we're going to focus on food at our fall fairs. And my favorite recipe to make now, the recipe is Provençal roasted tomatoes with a buttery breadcrumb topping. So delicious. Plus, an anti-cancer eating tip and our latest delicious wine discovery. My treasured food buddies are here. Senior contributors Chris Prosperi, Alex Province, and Mark Raymond. Helping us out today on the show, the WNPR reporter, Lori Mack, who used to be on this show. It's such a great thing to have you with us.
Thank
hey, everybody.
you.
Hey. Okay, don't you look with wonder at the smart things that food people come up with? I mean, people in every realm, but food included, because that's what we do.
I always say, why didn't I think of that? Right? You're looking at something, you're like, why? Of course, why didn't I think of that?
Is it some kind of combination they make? Even your son what ice cream thing did he invent?
Oh, the Klondike bars, yeah.
He was inventing things like crazy with Klondike bars.
Yeah, the ice cream sundaes.
It just goes on and on and on. So I'd like to give the Food Schmooze Brilliant Award to an artist. Her name is Mary Mattingly, and she started a project a year ago in New York City. She took a 130-foot barge, and that used to be used for construction materials and concrete and all that. She turned it into a floating forest.
No.
Filled it with soil and compost, and is growing the most gigantic garden
In New
and
York.
Fruit trees.
This is such a great story. I love this story.
Floated it to the South Bronx, which is considered, you would say
Tough
the food
place.
deserts.
Yeah.
There are
And
no
tough place.
supermarkets and everything. Docked it and said, free vegetables and fruit for everybody.
No way.
And
Incredible.
nobody violates it. Nobody comes in and steals everything.
Yeah, because it's all free.
And people are thinking about, could this be duplicated somewhere?
I love that.
It's like a community,
gigantic garden. It's a community
garden on
the
a
water.
barge right on the water.
Yeah.
It's probably great for
could.
growing
That's
stuff too.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
And she found the barge in New York State, then loaded it with the soil and the gravel and the plants.
Of course.
Super clever.
Why didn't
She
I
was-
think of that?
She was she was thinking
Floating
about
vineyard.
floating it to all the five boroughs.
Yeah, like a
But it
floating
really
market.
ended up in the South Bronx.
genius.
I think she needs 4 more barges.
Oh,
It's a
and,
great idea.
I think towns
Yeah.
with any kind of water need this, where there are
Yeah.
any kind of, in every town there are
Great
people who need food.
Absolutely.
What
And
in
in
the
Hartford,
world?
there's so many vacant parking lots and all these
Could you imagine?
spots you could grow
What
stuff.
a great idea.
Get rid of the lawns and just have gardens.
Other people have done something a little bit similar, never to the extent that she has done it. But I love that an artist did this artwork with a social purpose.
Yeah.
And that it's working and flowering and produce. And, her tomatoes were as late as everybody else's tomatoes.
But they're there now.
Oh, my God. So she's got our Food Schmooze Brilliant Award and all the people who helped her, because, of course, it took a lot of people.
Love that.
Chris, I'm particularly interested in your comments here because I was looking for the best and easiest tip for getting a great sear on a steak. And I read food scientists' opinions about this, flip it often. It's not that old thing about just flip it once. I read all kinds of things about this. So the thing I read that impressed me tremendously was something so simple, and it was The best thing you can do is dry the steak with paper towels.
Pat it that, yeah. Just pat it dry real quick, and it's the simplest thing to do. We do it whenever we sear something. It doesn't matter if it's
like a
fish
scallop.
or
It's the same
scallop.
idea.
Yeah, whatever it is. We keep a roll of paper towels on the line, and before it hits the pan, we just take
Because what does the wet steak, what happens to it that makes it
Steams.
not
it
sear?
steams, and it brings the temperature of the pan down, and it just
So
gets in the way.
You don't
of-
get that caramelized
Yeah.
exterior.
You can still, but not as easily and not as good.
So just take paper towels and
Just
dry
pat,
it.
and you're not talking about like giving it a towel dry. Just take a piece of towel, pat
And
it
should
on
you
it.
put it in the dryer? No.
No,
don't.
you don't need to
Dryer
put it in the
sheet.
dryer. Just one pat
Somewhere
on
in the
each side
world,
and you're
someone is putting their meat in the dryer right now.
Mountain Spring.
This will only take a second, honey, on 30 seconds on high. It'll be fine.
That's why t-shirts are like
And if
hamburger.
you know what, if you do a large volume, the other thing you can do if you don't want to do that is leave it uncovered in your refrigerator for an hour or so, and it will get dry, right? Because the fridge will
Dry it out,
will pull the humidity
dehumidify it,
out, and it'll
So
make it nice and dry.
One time, a bunch of us were doing a steak, and we agreed to take the steak and put it on a rack in the refrigerator for 10 days.
like dry aged.
Oh, dry aging.
We dry aged our own steak and then
Wow.
put it on the grill, and it looked crusty. It looked kind of horrible and scary. But the food science people said no, it's still okay because it's been kept at a good temperature, and then it really was an incredible steak. So Chris, that's dry aging.
That's dry aging, but the only problem is it's tricky to do it in a refrigerator because the things they dry age has a little bit of humidity in it, so it doesn't dry it out so much. Like yours probably got
you don't
really
want it dry.
You don't want it like I mean,
Mummified.
Yeah, it'll mummify it if you leave it in the fridge too long. Where if you go to like a Whole Foods and you see that case that it's dry aging stuff, they do pump a little moisture into those, right?
So the fossil effect on the steak was
Goes
not
a little
good idea.
slower. Yeah, no, it still happens, but it doesn't happen at that extreme level.
We could knock it on the counter.
We're not looking to make beef jerky.
Yes, you could
We're
actually
looking to-
dehydrate it in there.
Think about this seared steak we're talking about, and then please listen to this, because we promised a health food tip. I want to congratulate the Food Network magazine for highlighting this. It's a study that was done at Kansas State University. That team at Kansas State tried to figure out if there was any way to eliminate the carcinogens that supposedly form on the surface of grilled meat and fish. There has been a theory for a long time that if you grill meat or fish, a protein, especially if it turns a corner from caramelized to burning, if it chars too much, and sometimes that's delicious, but if it chars too much, it forms a carcinogen, and that is dangerous to people. I don't know about to what extent that's true. I've never read all those studies. I'm just saying that that's a thing in the science world that they talk about. So Kansas State tried to figure out, is there anything we could do about that? And the answer, according to them, is yes. They said that black pepper on protein is nearly 100% effective in eliminating the carcinogens that grilling is said to cause. You know, I always say said to cause. And even better if you add herbs, which have their own health properties, along with the pepper. So I'm thinking steak au poivre is like the healthiest thing you could do.
That's a new one for me. I've never heard that one.
That's incredible. I think I'm going to rub my
Everything with pepper.
steaks and
Salmon,
So-
fish,
chicken
everything,
and
yeah.
fish.
You know, these studies are so tricky, but it's interesting
There
nevertheless.
is a thing there, though. That is a concern of people that char is bad for you. But yeah, I don't know if do you eat enough of it?
This was
are you
Kansas
eating?
State
I mean,
University?
are you eating
You think
steak every
barbecue
day?
sauce? That would be
I do. I really
Do you eat steak every day? That's probably not good for you anyway, right? I don't know. It's a tough one. But if all you have to do is put pepper on it,
I love beef.
We eat
I
beef
know
a
it's
lot.
not
I'll
good.
take my
You do?
chances.
Yeah.
Well, you have an Argentinian wife. It's like-
Exactly. So it's either short ribs, it might be ribeyes, it might be tenderloin.
Really? You
Daniel
do?
loves the tenderloin because he does not like any of the fat.
I
lighter
love
flavor
beef.
too.
Oh, me
And
too.
of course, I read all the articles about how too much beef is not good for you, and they look at various cultures. That makes me want to look at Argentinian people and in terms of health profile and see, are they all dying at a young age? But then the question becomes, how are they raising their beef? What do the beef feed on? Because it's said that what the animal eats is how it affects your health.
Or maybe it's the red wine. It is a big wine drinking community.
We
Maybe
have a
less
wine.
stress,
We have a
right?
red wine coming up on the show from Argentina. See? He's teasing you.
See?
Hey, how about tomatoes? Did you do anything interesting with them this year? Anybody?
Ate them.
Well,
Just
it took
ate
forever.
them. Yeah, and now we're just eating them. And
Oh my
eating
God!
'em
Just
and
how about
eating
when
'em.
you just prepare them? Like you just slice the fresh room temperature tomato and put a little sea salt on it, and you started handing them to us around the room. Oh my God!
How about just a slather of
Incredible.
mayonnaise?
Yeah.
A little bit of bacon on
Yeah.
top.
I love
I don't know
it.
if it's just they taste better or did we wait so long that I'm just
That's a great app, by the way.
loving them.
I felt like I had had hothouse tomatoes so long into the
Yeah.
season, and they looked great. So I thought they were going to
okay.
taste great. And I would think, maybe I don't like tomatoes so much. I don't really get tomatoes.
And then today when
And
I
then
gave you
the
that
real
slice,
tomatoes
then you're like,
And I
wow.
thought, oh, these are really quite incredible. I love, my thing, mozzarella, fresh basil, olive oil on bread, and just there's my sandwich. Sometimes a slice of prosciutto, a little drizzle of balsamico.
all you need.
So
I found an interesting thing when I was visiting South Carolina last month. They take the green tomatoes, obviously, and people know they fry them, but then they layered them in between with this pimento cheese. And I gotta
love
tell
pimento.
you, it was so good.
I'm a
I could
fan
have
of the
I
pimento
could have eaten
cheese.
buckets of this.
Green
Wow.
tomatoes,
Fried
upright,
green tomatoes,
yeah, with
and then they layered in between
pimento cheese,
the pimento
fried
cheese.
green tomato on top,
Exactly.
like a Napoleon of fried green
like a
tomato.
Napoleon with fried green tomato.
Oh, I love that.
It was so good.
that is really
So,
that
as you're
sounds
getting
good.
towards the end of the season, you've got some of those green tomatoes still on the vine, and you don't want them to go to waste.
I don't even remember what's in pimento cheese besides pimentos. What's in there?
Well, it's a lighter cheese, right? It's a creamier cheese, like cream cheese or mascarpone that they whip
shredded
in.
cheese,
Yeah, and then they
mayonnaise
whip it in with mayonnaise and cheese, and it's a spread more than like mozzarella where you
can make
slice.
sandwiches out
Or
of
maybe
it.
even like a boar's end,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
where you
oh, sure.
add the herbs in.
Yeah.
So
That's
the
fancy.
Delta Sky Miles, like in Atlanta, Georgia, has a big pimento station.
Come on.
I was taking plate loads of it during my delay.
Yeah, I see it on the grocery store around here, like seldom.
beautiful.
But down there, you see it everywhere.
Where's
right?
Alex? He's by the pimento cheese.
It's just fun to say.
Whose voice is that you're doing?
I don't know.
I seem to recognize that voice.
Somebody find
By
Alex.
the pimento. I think everybody from late night comedy, everybody's doing the same voice. Okay, here we go. The reason I brought up the tomato subject is to tell you about the thing that I love to do this time of year the most as the real tomatoes are coming in. Lori, I didn't even ask you, Lori Mack. Are you a tomato on the grill person?
I would eat tomatoes any way you serve them. On the grill, on a piece of pumpernickel bread with some butter and a little salt and
Pumpernickel.
pepper.
Oh, that's
Pumpernickel, good idea. Little salt.
Little salt, little pepper.
Oh, yeah. Okay. My favorite thing to do right now is what I call roasted Provençal tomatoes. And we have this posted at the site foodschmooze.org. It is so simple to do. And if you want to take advantage of these last of the season, really lush tomatoes, because it took so long for them to become ripe. Some people probably still have your green tomatoes. So that was a good tip for them.
Pimento cheese.
So this is something that I had in my file years and years and years ago. I think it was from my chef idol of the world, it's Joel Robuchon. Let me just say, of course, there is no improving on Joel Robuchon's recipe. But what I did was start to fool with this thing and wrote it down on a piece of paper in my food file. And so when I say it's adapted, I don't mean it's improved upon. It just means this is what was around. People seem to like it. So here it is. So you've got the oven on, and then in a skillet, put some oil in the pan, olive oil, and you cut fresh tomatoes from the farmer's market in half. Get the core out, and you put the cut side down enough to fit in the stovetop pan, and you sear them. You don't move them. You just sear them until they become caramelized, really kind of a dark brown, not black, but dark brown. It takes about 3 minutes to do that. And then you take them, cook side up when they're that, the right color, and you put them in a baking dish, a casserole dish of some kind. You cook all the tomato halves that way. We tell you how to do it for 8 people. And then If there'll be juices in the pan, you pour that over the tomatoes and season them with a little bit of salt. Now, in a little bowl, you mix together, this was the thing that I did that he didn't do, a little bit of butter, some diced up parsley, lots of minced garlic, and breadcrumbs. It's best if they're fresh breadcrumbs. And so you spread it on the tomatoes in the casserole dish, and then you pop that in that 400-degree oven. And then when the top is golden brown and the tomatoes seem to be sizzling, out they come. And if you want, you could sprinkle Parmigiano Reggiano or grated Gruyere on the top and make it a main dish. Or if it's a side dish, it practically goes with everything except red spaghetti sauce. Okay, so honestly, it is so delicious. I don't deserve a bit of credit, but honestly, this is a thing to do before the tomatoes
I'm making
go
that
away.
tonight.
Okay, don't forget, later on in the show, we've got somebody who's done a cookbook of the food from state fairs. And we in this region have a lot coming up. The food is so much fun. It's kind of goes from crazy to really, really sensible, good things. So stay with us for that. We've got a special wine discovery, lots of things to talk about. More mouth-watering conversation and fun ahead on the Faith Middleton Food Schmooze. I hope you will make a charitable contribution to feed the hungry. They sometimes are invisible. We don't know they're in our midst, but let me tell you, they are there in big numbers. We're online now at foodschmooze.org, and we'll be right back.
Let's call the whole thing off. Oh, yes. You like potato?
And you like potato?
You like tomato?
And you like tomato?
Potato?
Potato?
Tomato?
Tomato?
Let's call the whole thing off.
Beans and cornbread, beans and cornbread, beans and cornbread. Beans and cornbread had a fight. Beans knocked cornbread out of sight. Cornbread said, now that's all right. Meet me on the corner tomorrow night. I'll be ready. I'll be ready tomorrow night. I'll be ready. I'll be ready tomorrow night. I'll be ready. I'll be ready tomorrow night. That's what Beans said to cornbread.
Oh, jeez. I don't know. We just love the recording. Please, I hope you're not sick of us saying that, but it's just such a brilliant recording. It's just unbelievable. So here's the part where I always say the same thing. And here's why I do. Podcasts, there are so many people know what they are. But I like to include people who don't.
Right.
And so, yeah.
You got
thanks,
it.
Mark. So I just say it means a copy of the show that we have, with our special juju we send to your inbox. And you don't have to do anything. If you're running around, you can't necessarily listen, but you want to have a little party in your life at various times, at any time. I know I do. That's when we do the show this way.
That's right. This is our little
this is what
party.
we look forward to with you.
Plus, there's
We
the
just
quote
say-
at the beginning. The best quote. On the podcast, you always start off with a really cute...
Oh, you know
I
what?
love
I'm
that.
so glad you said that. So the podcast begins with something we don't do
On the show.
when we're recording the show, and it is we call it a welcome toast, but it is some piece of food humor that somebody has come up with, and we go through tons of things to find ones that we think are enjoyable. So that's
Pretty
what
cool.
opens. Then you've
Love
got the whole thing. So.
It's a bonus for getting the podcast.
Yeah. And then it's a library. And if you want to go back to various shows, you can do that. So you just go to foodschmooze.org. Schmooze. I feel like the romper. SCH like school. MOO like the cow. ZE. That's how you remember. Foodschmooze.org.
It worked for Alex.
Works
I
for you,
know.
too.
Yeah.
Listen, it works
I
for
wanted
me.
to give it
It's
to
like,
you, though.
I know. It's like you have to
It's the only way we remember it.
brush
Okay,
up
I
on your
admit it.
Yiddish. It's like, okay.
Alex and I, what's schmooze?
You remember that guy. Lori, do you remember the man who wrote into me and said, I am outraged. You are not pronounced. That is not the Yiddish pronunciation of schmooze. It's not schmooze. It's schmooze. Now, he may be technically correct. I would never presume to know.
Right.
Honestly, but I just sat there and I said to him, I wrote back to him and I said, I cannot say, welcome to the food schmuzz. It's just not going to. You know,
So we're making up words and pronunciations here.
with good
you don't,
reason.
you don't say I'm driving a LeSaab. You say it's a LeSabre. You just can't. It's become a thing. So this is what it is. Schmooze. I'm with my treasured food buddies. You're just going to be sick of this because I'm so madly in love with these people. Chris Prosperi, chef and co-owner of Metro Beast Restaurant in Simsbury, Connecticut. Winebroker Alex Provence of Hartford. Winebroker Mark Raymond, who lives in Wethersfield. Lori Mack, the WNPR reporter, is helping us out with today's show. Robin Doyen Aiken is on assignment for us. We've got the author of a book called Fair Foods, George Geary. He's done a great book about the food that we get at country fairs across America, including our region. So that's going to be great. Do you have this thing where I try to get certain vegetables into my diet? I don't necessarily, like broccoli, I don't really care unless it is roasted to a crisp. And I do. And so this kind of steamed, the steamed broccoli thing doesn't really interest me. I don't really like, but many people do. It's just my particular taste. I love this from the Test Kitchen at Food Network magazine. I really thought this was terrific. And it's about cauliflower rice. And you can, Lori, you know this, right?
Yes, I've heard about this. This sounds great.
You can do it with broccoli too. It doesn't matter. The idea is that you take either the cauliflower or the broccoli and you take the big hand grater and you grate. And then you just saute it in a little bit of olive oil. You could put it on a sheet pan and roast it in the oven and keep stirring it, watching it carefully until it crisps up. And you have what's called cauliflower rice or broccoli rice.
I throw that into pasta too.
Yes, your friend,
Totally,
right?
yeah,
The
in
real
Italy,
Italian.
Yeah, they grate it or chop it really fine and saute it first with some tomato, and then just take fresh pasta and toss it instead of having. And I like it so much better. I don't even when it's roasted. I don't like big chunks of broccoli. I never have.
I do. I think
smaller
it's,
bites.
it's like eating a tree.
Yeah,
like
I
a
don't
big
like
piece
that,
of broccoli.
dude. Well, it's again, like Faith said, it's a taste thing. I'd rather have it chopped up really
That's
fine.
interesting.
I mean,
I think I could.
Or
I think I could do
grated,
that, yeah.
or-
You know, listen, here's the thing. You
put
don't
it to
hear
a
us on
rice
the
dish.
show talking about things in a way that is really super negative. We're really focusing on things that we like. We're picking the cookbook authors we like, the restaurants we like, the dishes we like, the recipes we like. It's not that we're positive about everything. It's that we think, look, we've got about an hour with you. You may listen in 1, 2, or 3 bites to the show. We want to tell you about the things we think are terrific. It's called curating.
Yeah.
That's what I do. That's what my compatriots here on the show do. So, you might love broccoli in its whole form. That's good. That's good.
That's You've already got that covered. But
Yeah,
for people who
so-
don't,
Yeah.
Chop it up really fine. And listen, if you
And
want
I'm saying that, and there's nothing wrong with it.
no.
I think former
Saying that
President
most
Bush didn't like broccoli.
I remember, yeah.
But I'm telling you, if you chop it up, you can
Doesn't
even get
he
kids
seem
to
like
eat
the
it.
most liberal man now? So anyway, try grating your vegetable
Yes.
I could
and then
totally see.
sauteing it.
A really cool idea is doing that whole ricing thing.
Mm-hmm.
You could do cauliflower, broccoli, maybe a couple other
Carrots to give it
vegetables,
some color.
and then just make it an all vegetable paella
Yep,
with
sure
with
could.
that shredded vegetables.
Ooh,
Make it nice and easy to eat, and everything cooks down.
What a good idea.
Evenly. Oh yeah, that could be really cool.
And putting olive oil on the pan, whether it's a saute pan, a sheet pan in the oven, or throwing chicken on top and letting it just kind of caramelize on the bottom, whatever you want to do with it, it's just terrific that way, I think. It's not like you're losing the fiber by grating it. It's still right there.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to do the wine? I'm afraid we'll run out of time because we've got the fair food. And wait till we get to that. Think about the fairs from your childhood all the way up to adulthood.
Oh yeah.
How crazy that stuff can be.
Oh, so much
So we're going to
fun.
talk about the crazy.
Such great
We're
memories.
also going to talk about stuff that is just so interesting.
Talk about going from broccoli to fair food.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's a
We,
food
we
show
had to
for
get
you.
you. We had to get you
Big
healthy.
jump there.
We had to get you healthy first.
Broccoli on a
Generous
stick.
vision on the food show.
Donut.
Okay, Mark, here is, we were talking about this earlier. This is a wine that Mark discovered, and I, after tasting this, absolutely adored this red. Now, if it's hot on the day you try it, things being what they are, it really can be. I put this in the refrigerator for a good half hour and then pour it with a good chill on it. This is a red from the Mendoza region of Argentina, and it's called Finca, which stands for farm. Finca El Origen, so of the original farm.
Of the origin. So when they first started tilling this land over 40 years ago, they found fossils, like these little nautilus fossils in the ground. So they felt that the terroir was from the ocean. This is ocean land that has risen up when the mountains and the Andes. So you're in the foothills of the Andes.
What is the closest? Yeah, what's the closest ocean? I wonder.
The Atlantic. Well, actually, if you go to the other side of the Andes, you have the Pacific.
Oh my!
That's probably a little bit closer because it's probably from Mendoza. It's probably 5 hours to the Atlantic coast, and it's probably only about an hour and a half.
But mileage means you have to go up over the Andes.
If you're flying, it's too.
Can I just add to this? This is on our website. A picture of the label. This wine, it is absolutely a delicious red, and it's about
$15
$15 a bottle. Yeah. This is a bargain for this price. This is a real and made in a wholesome way, hand harvested, all that. Can I just quickly add something about this soil? When you've got soil that has these fossils still in it from the sea, what happens in modern life is that minerals that used to be here and help the human body have been leached out of the soil. When you've got soil with this still in it, you've got these unusual minerals in the soil. And the idea of how that helps the human body thrills me.
Absolutely.
It's a theory that
That's very
personal kind of crazy theory. But anyway, I'd love that. And this is delicious. How do you describe it? I'll help you.
So
and let me pour some.
Yeah, pour a little.
Okay,
everybody try a little.
Oh,
For
thank
me,
you.
I love that it's got beautiful, intense flavors of dark plum.
What's the fruit forward part of this as I take a sip? Go ahead.
For me, it's the characteristics of plum and berry. You think of blackberry, blueberry.
So I've got that plum, not the sour part, but the dark part of a plum.
Dark part, the ripe, sweet part of it.
Yeah. And then I've got, so this is not a sweet wine, no, very dry.
No, not a sweet wine.
And so then I've got a whisper of a black cherry in there somewhere. Do you?
Yep.
Not the sweet black cherry, but something black cherry-ish. And yet I've got that thing where if you have a cup of tea and there's this sort of slightly dry feeling in your mouth.
Yeah.
That happens. When you get that, that's called a tannin in wine, and it means that it has structure and
body.
That body is what makes it go so well with food, and
meat.
Yeah.
And protein.
especially
Protein,
meat,
yeah.
Argentinian steak.
It cuts
right?
through that protein. It cuts through that fat that might be on that meat.
What goes together grows together. All those
Exactly.
Las Pampas, all that beautiful Argentine meat with this wine. Oh,
Wonderful land. Beautiful, beautiful place.
So for me,
can we go?
let's
let's do a show there. This is a sipper.
Yeah.
It's also
Carry it right into dinner.
fabulous with even roast vegetables. Right now, just
And it's a unique
fantastic.
blend. It's Cabernet blended with Malbec. You hear a lot of blends that will have Malbec and Merlot, but to blend Malbec and Cabernet, it's really kind of unique in the market.
Is it?
It is. It is. Just those two grapes.
Malbec and Cabernet together alone is unique in the market.
It is really kind of
Wonder why
unique.
that is.
You'll see it blended with other grapes, but
like
it's just
Merlot,
two
Like a
grapes.
Bordeaux blend, but just of the two.
Just of the two.
So love this, Mark. Great discovery, and thank you so much. Around $15 a bottle, and that is a very good price for this wine because it's definitely drinking like at least a $20 bottle of wine.
Attractive
This
wine.
is
So
a
luscious.
real wine. Finca El Origen. Don't worry about it. It's on our website, foodschmooze.org. A lot of wine stores have our shelf talkers, and so it says
So you
Faith
can pick
Middleton
it right
Food
out,
Schmooze
yeah.
recommendation. You can see it hanging on the shelf. If you don't, please write to us and tell us, and we'll make sure that you get those. You can talk to also Mark and Alex, our wine guys on the show, and get the labels that are are designed for the show. Very quickly, before we go to food from state fairs, Food Network did a thing on the most wonderful. I'm a person who in the evening during the week could make a meal out of this. And I know, Lori, I think you're like this too. This is prosciutto wrapped shrimp and melon.
Ooh.
Now, melon will start to come from other parts of the world, but it's local right now. And so we're talking about bringing a pot of water to a boil and putting the shrimp in for a couple minutes, really. And then in a bowl, you put the shrimp and add these cantaloupe or watermelon you could use, a little bit of olive oil and vinegar and honey, and a little pepper, which seems to be healthy, as we said earlier on the show.
Helps the grill, Mark.
So what you're doing is putting a piece of prosciutto around shrimp and a slice of melon. It's that simple. And there you go. Now, I would be happy. People think I'm crazy, but I could eat 6 of those for dinner.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd be happy.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I love
I really
about that?
would.
Matt and I
6.
will get like a cantaloupe.
Are
And then,
you laughing at
Yeah,
me?
6.
Lori?
She could eat 6 of them. Honeydew melon also might
Yeah.
be a good.
Oh, that's good.
Oh,
The
yeah.
thing
No.
is, you buy a big melon at the
Lori's
grocery
like
store,
6.
and you can't eat the whole thing for breakfast. I love the idea that you could do it for dinner, so it breaks up the monotony of, it's just 2 of us at home, so to eat a huge, melon.
If you go
Well,
to
she
a
said 6, but she didn't say how big the skewer was.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So
That's
it's
all.
like
a big
it's a
store.
foot and a half skewer
and it's 2
with
whole
quite a bit
melons.
of shrimp and melon
Yeah,
and
and it's 2
prosciutto
whole
on
melons.
it. 6 of them would be just enough.
Chris, help me.
No, 'cause I couldn't eat just 6.
I'm thinking
Lori
a
on
whole
this.
melon per person,
6.
maybe a bag of
Please.
shrimp, a pound and a half of
For this
prosciutto,
recipe,
and we're
you
good.
need 5
6.
melons. Okay. I think it's dinner. I'm sorry. If you want to put it on a biscuit, you could. But honestly, I
no
think
biscuit
that's
needed.
a
The other
dinner.
thing is going out
Maybe if you're a big guy or something.
on the
that's
weekend
not
if you're
enough
having
food.
like big dinners with friends and stuff, but it's
This is
fun
tapas.
in the middle of the
Yeah.
middle of a work week eating light. I think allows you to save up some points for Saturday
weekend.
night, Friday night.
I like how you
6 little melon slices.
So you save up calories for Wednesday. Okay.
It's Thursday through Sunday. It's the weekend.
Thursday through Sunday.
Wow.
I know. Isn't
No.
every day the weekend? It should be.
Really,
I
it
know.
should
Yeah.
be.
You
You
should
just
eat
have a
every day.
different
Too short.
state of mind.
Yeah.
That means we all don't have any work. What do you-
What do you mean? What
I
are you
mean,
talking about?
mo-
Eating and drinking is work for me.
no, it is
is
work for
true.
you.
It is.
Okay.
You chose that career on
I
purpose, didn't you?
did. I did.
What are they going to say about us? No, it's hard work. It
It
really
is.
is.
It is.
No kidding. It actually
Very.
is. Okay. We love the local. You know that. Please support your local food growers and food makers. Lots at the farmers market right now. Coming up next, we're going to do the food from country fairs. More delicious conversation coming your way. We'll be right back.
If I was you, I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too. If I was you, I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too.
French fried potatoes and a ketchup.
This is the Food Schmooze Party, offering the richness of life. And coming to you in Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New York, including Westchester County, the East End of Long Island, and the Hamptons. The senior producer is Robin Doyon-Aiken, who's on assignment right now. And we have Lori Mack, the WNPR reporter, doing our engineering today as an incredible favor to us. Thank you, Lori.
My pleasure.
To hear the show on WNPR, it airs Thursdays at 3 and 9, and then Saturdays at noon. Podcasts, our curated recommendations, everything we talk about on the show at foodschmooze.org. Now, here's the deal. If you are on Facebook, can we talk about fairs, fair food, the one you go to? Let us know if there is a fair in your area that you have been to that you think is really awesome. Chris, have
The
you?
Goshen Fair just happened.
I know. Okay, let me just tell you.
Steak sandwiches, beef jerky, no dines.
We
No
love
dimes.
this stuff.
Yeah.
Let me just say, we love this stuff. So here's where we are on Facebook. Faith Middleton, Food Schmooze, those 4 words. Let's start a dialogue about this because I think this is fantastic. And here's our inspiration. This book by George Geary, he also did the Cheesecake Bible. You might remember that. But George Geary has done this cookbook, Fair Foods. And so he decided to go to all these fairs and find out which were the most popular recipes, which were the most offbeat recipes. If you go to fairs, you know that, from the state and county fairs. Mark Raymond has looked up all the fairs from our region. And so you're going to hear him talking about those, Big E and all the others. There were so many. And so, hey, George, welcome to the Food Schmooze party.
Well, it's a party.
Oh, yeah.
You got that, George. George, thank you for being with us. I love that you did this book.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun doing the book.
What made you think of it? Was it just that no one's done this, or was there?
There's that. And I worked at the largest county fair in the country for 28 years.
For people, which one is that?
Los Angeles.
Wow,
Now,
I would have
I
never
would not have
guessed.
That is a huge surprise to me.
Absolutely. No one knows that we have farm animals in Southern California. In fact, they make fun of the whole thing of California and fairs with billboards that have like goats on it, and they'll say, "Come to where the real goat cheese pizza came from."
Nice.
So it's like a slap in the face.
Oh,
with
that's
the goat,
good.
you know, so.
Yeah.
But it really fascinating because there's one corner of Los Angeles County, Pomona area, that is very still agricultural. And they have the farm animals out there. So they bring kids in from the city during the day, and they do these kids programs, so they
cool.
kind of see what the farm is all about out there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Isn't this the fairs? I think like going to farms that have farm stands or farm tours keeps us in touch with where our food comes from. It helps those farmers because then we shop at those farm stands. And this is such an important part of, if you're in a city, this is fantastic to do.
The smell of hay, the dust.
Yeah, and if
so
you're out in the
Americana.
country, you know
love
how
it.
important this is. So I just love every bit of it. It ranges from cheesy to absolutely fantastic, right? So George, how do you think about what I think of as the crazy food at the state
fried.
fair? Yeah, like I'm looking at deep fried bacon.
Well, see, the book, we have normal food, I call it, and then
Yeah.
we have the crazy food, and everyone thinks everything's fried in the book, too, which we don't have.
I
And
don't
then we
think
have my
that.
most popular place is the beverages.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
So
Now you're talking my language.
but people go to fairs for funnel cake. They go
Yeah.
for the
Normal
deep
stuff.
fried bacon.
Corn dogs.
They go for deep fried Oreos.
Oh,
I'm looking at your some of the things that you have featured.
fried pickles.
And on purpose, I'm pointing out, like there's one. Where was this? The spicy peanut butter and jelly cheeseburgers. Where was that?
Oh, you know,
That was near the country fair, right? At in the Midwest.
yeah, it was Midwest somewhere that I saw something to that effect. I could have been Iowa, because Iowa really has some wild stuff. But,
Well-
yeah, you'd think peanut butter, and it's kind of that sweet and salty and savory all together.
So that recipe, it's in the book too, is ground beef and salt and pepper, of course, but creamy peanut butter and Swiss cheese is going to be on the top, and grape jelly, a little bit of jalapeno, and the buns. Now, theoretically, that sounds crazy, but when I look at that combination of ingredients, I get it. I get why that might be really terrific.
I'd take a bite.
Chris.
And I think things taste different when you're at a fair too. Like you can really do stuff like that at a fair, and you're like, "Damn, that's good."
Well, I mean,
Well, yeah, it's the heat of the fair, the adult beverage maybe, and
Yeah.
the crazy people. Is it the best place to people watch? Too?
Oh,
oh
yeah.
yeah.
And you think
Only
I would
second to
never
an
have
airport.
worn that in my whole life.
And the kids competing for
Love
the
it.
agricultural awards take
Community.
this so seriously, and well, they should. It is not an easy thing to raise these animals they're raising, or for these farm wives and husbands, because both do it, to make the pickles, make the pies, make the ice cream that they make.
The part that I was in charge of was the judging.
Oh, I do that.
Oh.
That'd be
And
fun.
we could write a book all on, but these people have to die first because all
What
of
do you mean?
well,
Stories
the
you can
fighting
tell.
that they would do.
Oh, boy.
And I won't want to name any names, but I'm almost saying her name. This one woman, she very nice. I became friends with her over the years, but she would intimidate the judges to an extent where she would just give this smirk to where it just went right through you, and the judges would like turn their back on her. And her stuff was good. Okay, one time she comes up to me and she says, "George, why didn't my cake win?" And I said, "Which one was yours?" Because you're a number. I don't know who anybody is. And it was a cake contest. I looked at her and I said, "Listen, let's call her Mary." I said, "Mary, you made a prune mocha cake. Do you really think that's going to win?" You know? And she kind of looked at me and she said, "I guess you're right." And I said, "The lemon chiffon one. Prune mocha." I said, "You aren't hitting the demographics here."
She really wanted a blue ribbon.
Oh, yeah. It's just really funny.
Here's the thing.
I'm sure there's a small segment of the market that'd be good for.
But
very
George,
small.
you know what, George? This is such a serious thing. Once Carol Peck from Good News Cafe in Woodbury and I think there was a third judge, I can't remember who, we were asked to judge in Litchfield County, Connecticut, one of these country fair apple pie contests. And we got into, as three judges, the most amazing debate, you could say fight, about what constituted the proper apple pie, how much acid versus how much sugar. I liked it sweeter.
Too
Carol
soft,
liked it
too-
tartar, which were the apples, the crust. Oh, my goodness. When people make this stuff in a competition, this is an artist who really takes this seriously, entering and... Of course, it's like
My pie's gonna win.
It's like
Popeye's gonna win.
Better.
We have a barbecue contest, and this one
Am I
guy.
being too earnest? Go ahead.
This one guy was so sure he was going to win the barbecue contest, and he was walking around with the puffed up chest, the whole bit, and all excited. And I'm watching him, and I didn't know who had won. Third prize, he didn't win. Second prize, he didn't win, but he was sure of the first prize. First prize, it's not him. It's these two ladies that were. Well, at the time, it was in the 80s. They weren't married, but they were together, and you knew they were together, but that was just uncalled of. And he kicked his barbecue with the hot coals across the pavement. He was so mad that two women beat him out.
Oh,
and I
boy.
thought, I am so glad they won.
Yeah, absolutely.
Worldwide wrestling, right there.
But, yeah, I was ready for
The
them
new-
to get down there on the mat, and the girls would have won.
No, this is great. The girl.
The girls would've
Okay,
won,
the
hands
girl.
down.
Yep. All right, so here we go. I want to get into some of the recipes in the book, one of which Chris just made, and we had the best time eating it just before
which
your
one?
conversation. So Chris, can you talk about this? The pulled pork sliders, and then Mark is going to tell us where some of the fairs are around our region. So Mark, stand by for that.
Yeah.
Chris, the pulled pork sliders were Hungarian paprika. This is in the book. George Gary's book, Fair Foods, the most popular and offbeat recipes from America's state and county fairs. Love the idea of this. Pulled pork sliders, Hungarian paprika, sea salt, black pepper, garlic powder, cayenne pepper, dried thyme, honey, coconut water, red wine vinegar, canola oil, brown onions, pork shoulder, cut in half, and then, of course, the rolls.
Yeah.
How did it come together?
So you take
Chris?
all the ingredients up until the onions. You mix it all together like a big paste, and it's thick stuff. And you take that and you smear it all over the pork shoulder. You take
Which is cut in half.
Yeah, and then you take your onions, put them on the bottom of a slow cooker. You put that pork that's smothered in the paste on top. Put the lid on, 7 hours.
And it becomes so soft you can
Oh, you
shred it with a fork.
2 forks. I took 2 large forks and just sort of pull it all apart. And then I used little potato rolls, but whatever, little slider rolls, and just make sandwiches,
Yeah.
right?
It was delicious.
It was
Heaven.
really fun. Yeah.
Little spicy.
And if you're somebody who likes extra salt or extra spice,
Just kick
throw
it up.
that in too. So, George, this is Iowa State Fair, right?
This type is all over the place. Now, none of the recipes are original from a fair company because no one would give you recipes. So I adapted a lot of the recipes. So this one, a lot of Midwest do a lot of pulled pork. Here in California, we do it too. Nobody cares about
Wait.
diet.
Oh,
Go
this
there.
is where we hit rewind, people. So wait, let's
Secret
hear. This
recipes.
is something. So as we go through life, most people will give you a recipe. Every once in a while, someone will say, I can't give that out.
Yeah.
No, that's a family recipe. Nope, that's a secret thing. So you're saying that at the fairs, they basically will not give you the actual recipe?
No.
No, because they think you're another another vendor looking to make a
there's that.
similar thing to
Wow.
at another
They don't want
fair.
you to win first
So
place.
how do you do that? What do you do in the
just
face
have,
of it?
because this book is my 11th book, and I'm really
Yeah.
good at recreating recipes. And I used to be at work at Disney. And if you look at the corn dog recipe, which is
Yeah.
all over the internet right now,
I know.
it is one of the best 10 items to eat at Disneyland.
Nice.
And it's number 3 right now. And I created that back in 1991. I would say.
Really?
Yeah, and they're still using the same recipe. I should.
Can I tell
if
you-
I got a nickel on each corn dog sold,
Wouldn't
you'd
that have
be-
been
They do-
something?
I've had
Am
corn
billionaire.
dogs
Am
there,
I,
too.
am
My
I
favorite
mortified?
food.
I'm
Love corn
mortified to
dogs.
tell you because it's such an American thing. I have never in my life tasted a corn dog, and I'm dying to.
I've had his corn dogs because I go to Disney every
so
year,
good.
and corn dogs on my list.
Really?
Dipped in
Oh my
mustard.
God,
Oh,
yeah.
George,
How can you not like
you've
corn
got a
dogs?
personal
It's like
fan.
sweet from the
Well,
corn.
see, now I know
Oh.
who I can say when I'm there next time. I know. The
I
guy
know
that came up with
George.
this.
Absolutely.
I know George Geary.
The original.
Hey, George, I want to get to the recipes that you gave us for the site, and we're so
Oh, I
appreciative.
don't know what I gave you.
Okay, so let me tell you. You gave
like
us
Christmas present.
You,
Did you like what I gave you?
I love you. I do. All right, roasted sugar pecans.
Those are really good.
Those come in paper cones, right?
Yeah, people walk around with these like little paper cones
love these.
And eat them.
Okay, so very quickly, pecan halves, egg whites, and granulated sugar could not be easier.
Easiest thing.
The next one, the pork sliders that we just talked about, that's on our site. And then we want to get to the candy apples because soon
Halloween.
in the New England and New York region, we're going to get to these candy apples. This is a classic fair staple in this season, right?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
You gotta have
and
it.
the caramel apples. Either one of those.
Mark, tell
Yeah.
us about some of the fairs in our region that we're either in or on the way.
All right. Currently, the Berlin Fair, the Orange County Fair, the Four-Town Fair, and the Guilford Fair. Coming up, we've got the Durham Fair and the Harwinton Fair. And then, of course,
Durham Fair, I know. I just love
yeah.
that fair.
That's
Go
the
ahead.
biggest one.
And then
Connecticut.
overall, right now for New England, we have the Big E going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fantastic.
Oh, and then more fairs to come after that.
More fairs to come after that.
I think some of the best French fries I've ever had in my life in that old, I don't know what that oil is, but it's
oil.
like there's just something about that oil.
When we were kids
That
at the
oil-
Guilford Fair, we were just learning in school about how some oils were bad. So I asked the guy, "What kind of oil is that?" He's like, "It's oil." I'm like, "But what kind of oil?" He's like, "Motor oil."
It's so good because it's so filled with potato flavor and because they've used it so
Saturated
often.
fat.
Honestly, it's just it's like my
Large.
mother used to do. George Geary, I love your idea. I love that you did this. Thank you so much, and for giving us a heads up about how great the fairs are in our region in this season. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Next time I'm coming live.
Would you?
That would be
I would
great.
love that. You let us know
Not that I'm not
anything
live
you
right
do,
now,
any
but
book
yeah.
you do. Okay.
If you bring corn dogs.
This one is called Fair Foods, the most popular and offbeat recipes from America's state and county fairs. If you've had something at a fair that you loved, chances are you'll find it in this book. Thanks a lot, George.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
Bye.
We're on WNPR Thursdays at 3 and Saturdays at noon. Weekdays, listen for my 60-second food schmoozes and never eat more than you can lift. In New Haven, I'm Faith Middleton.
Everybody eats when they come to mind.
Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast on your schedule. And when you need a little more party in your life, we're here online at foodschmooze.org. And we hope you'll talk with us on Facebook. We're at Faith Middleton Food Schmooze.